When it comes to creating a connection so deep it makes her cry, not from sadness, but from overwhelming release, peace, and intimacy, it's not about technique, moves, or performance. It's about your presence, your emotional energy, and your ability to hold space in a way that makes her feel like the most treasured, desired, and safe woman alive in that moment. You don't need to know every trick in the book. What you need is the ability to emotionally penetrate her, go deeper than her surface, deeper than her body, and touch parts of her that even she forgot were there. Physical stimulation fades quickly. Anyone can arouse the body, but only a rare kind of man. A man who's done the internal work can awaken her soul. And the first step toward that is showing up fully present, not distracted, not thinking about impressing her, not chasing validation, but being there, fully grounded, totally focused on her, not just with your eyes, but with your spirit. Most people don't understand how powerful silence, stillness, and intention can be. When you're calm, steady, and focused, you carry an unshakable energy that a woman can feel immediately. She doesn't just see you, she feels you. You have to understand that women are tuned to emotional frequency. They're not just responding to your words or your touch, they're responding to what's beneath it. If you're carrying insecurities, guilt, or doubt, she'll feel it, even if you smile through it. But if you're grounded, connected, and leading from a place of genuine appreciation and emotional availability, it's like a signal to her nervous system that she can finally let go, that she can surrender, not to you but to the moment, because you've created a space where she feels honored, not used. Worshipped, not pressured, desired, not judged. That's emotional penetration. It's the difference between touching her skin and touching her essence. When a woman cries after making love, it's not always because of the act itself, it's because of what it represented. It symbolized the first time she felt truly held, fully loved, or deeply safe. It cracked through armor she didn't know she was still wearing. She may not even understand it herself, but she will never forget the man who gave her that experience. Because he didn't take from her, he saw her. He gave something most people are too afraid or too shallow to offer: truth, presence, vulnerability, and real masculine strength. And let's be honest, most men are terrified of that level of connection. They want to impress, dominate, or perform, but they're afraid to actually feel. They want her to open up, but they haven't opened themselves. They want to lead, but they don't know where they're going. And a woman can always tell the difference between a man who is faking depth and one who lives there. You don't create emotional penetration by force or technique. You create it by being so aligned with yourself that you naturally invite her to go there with you. No pushing, no begging, no games, just energy that speaks louder than words. You have to listen not just to her words, but to her emotions. Watch how her body responds. Pay attention to her breath, her silence, the way her energy shifts. The more you observe without judgment, the more you begin to understand her language. And when she realizes she doesn't have to perform, prove, or hide anymore, something in her breaks open. That's when the tears come, not because she's sad, but because she's free, free to feel, free to trust, free to let go of the walls and just be held. And make no mistake, this is not about being soft or submissive. It's about being powerful enough to be gentle. It's about holding space with such a grounded masculine presence that her feminine can finally unravel without fear. That's the deepest turn on, not a perfect body or a flawless technique, but your energy, your undivided focus, your commitment to making her feel safe enough to show up completely unfiltered. When she's able to feel like she can collapse into you, spiritually and emotionally, without judgment or agenda, that's when her heart opens. That's when she gives you more than just her body. She gives you the vulnerable, raw, sacred parts of herself. The parts no one else gets to see, the parts she may not have even met yet, and when that happens, everything changes. The experience transcends the physical and becomes something spiritual, something divine, something so rare and unforgettable, she'll carry it in her memory like a song she can't stop playing. And the reason it happened isn't because of what you did, it's because of who you were in that moment. There's a distinct power in a man who moves with purpose. It's not about being aggressive, and it's not about being controlling, it's about being rooted. Intentional masculinity doesn't chase approval, it doesn't seek permission to exist, and it doesn't shift with every external influence. It is calm, aware, steady, and deliberate, and that type of energy is magnetic to a woman on every level: mental, emotional, physical, and even spiritual. It speaks to her at a frequency deeper than words. It's the unshakable calm in the chaos, the lighthouse in her emotional storm, the anchor she never knew she was waiting for. And when a man embodies that kind of grounded intentionality, a woman naturally feels drawn into his orbit. You don't have to constantly prove your strength when your energy already speaks for you. A man who knows where he's going doesn't need to yell it from the rooftops. He just walks, and people feel the pull. And the reason this is so attractive isn't just because of confidence. It's because purpose creates clarity, and clarity creates safety. When a woman senses that a man is grounded in who he is and where he's going, she feels safe enough to relax into her own feminine energy. She doesn't have to carry the emotional load. She doesn't have to lead. She can soften because he's already strong. And this isn't about financial success or dominance. A man can have all the money in the world and still be deeply insecure. True intentional masculinity is about direction. It's about inner alignment. It's about a man who wakes up and asks himself, what am I building today? Not for the sake of ego, but because building gives him life, because progress fuels him, because standing still feels like death to his spirit. A woman can feel when a man is living on autopilot, and she can feel when he's operating on purpose. And the second she feels that spark of real purpose, her body, mind, and emotions begin to respond. A woman doesn't want a man who simply reacts to life. She wants a man who creates life. She doesn't want to lead him, fix him, or teach him how to be. She wants to feel his clarity. She wants to feel that he has vision, intention, and discipline. Not because she needs him to fix her life, but because she wants to feel the power of his presence pouring into something greater than just the moment. When a man leads from that space, everything changes. His words carry more weight. His silence becomes grounding. His decisions are felt, not just heard. Intentional masculinity means you're not chasing every shiny thing. You're selective with your time, your attention, and your energy. You're not easily pulled in 10 directions. You know what you value, and you move according to that compass. That's when your touch becomes more powerful. That's when your voice calms her nervous system. That's when your presence fills the room even before you say a word. Because you're not scattered, you're whole, and a whole man doesn't need to dominate. His energy leads naturally, just by being. And part of that intentional masculinity is emotional intelligence, the ability to not just understand your own emotions, but to hold space for hers. You don't flinch when she feels deeply. You don't shut down when things get messy. You lean in, you witness. You guide, not by fixing, but by standing tall in your energy. That strength gives her permission to feel without fear. Because she knows you won't collapse under the weight of her emotions. That's a form of protection most people never talk about, not physical, but emotional. Not guarding her body, but guarding her heart by showing up consistently with presence and depth. It's also about boundaries. A man who lives intentionally doesn't allow chaos into his space. He's not pulled into drama or distractions. He doesn't let lust, envy, or insecurity dictate his actions. He leads himself first, and that leadership spills into every interaction. A woman feels it when you're disciplined, when you respect your time, when you move from alignment. It tells her she can trust you. It tells her she can be open, expressive, wild, soft because you can handle it. Because your foundation is strong enough to hold it all, and in intimacy, that kind of intentional energy becomes undeniable. You're not just there for release, you're there to connect. You're not moving based on impulse, you're moving based on intuition, rhythm, and real desire. You're not taking from her, you're offering something, your focus, your power, your full attention, you're tuned in. You're leading without force, and in that space she can melt, she can feel, she can surrender not just to you, but to the moment, to the connection, to herself. That's the power of a man who moves with purpose. He doesn't need to conquer women to feel like a man. He doesn't need to manipulate affection. He simply becomes a force that women feel drawn to because they trust where he's going, and more importantly, they trust who he's becoming along the way. There comes a point in every person's life where the weight of indecision, fear, and hesitation begins to feel like a prison. That heavy feeling that lives in your chest, the voice that whispers you're not enough, the energy that drags your spirit down before the day even begins, it all comes from one source: not saying yes. Not saying yes to healing, not saying yes to transformation, not saying yes to the version of yourself that's powerful enough to rise. Most people are stuck in emotional and spiritual paralysis because they've spent too long saying no to the parts of themselves that are ready to evolve. The truth is, your life changes the moment you say yes, not just out loud, but deep within your being. It's the yes that says, I'm no longer available for this version of me. It's the yes that shatters the illusion that you're a victim of your circumstances. That one yes is more powerful than any strategy, any plan, or any amount of motivation, because it's the beginning of alignment. There are people who live their whole lives stuck in cycles of pain and disconnection because they never made a committed decision to shift. They're waiting for a better time, waiting for clarity, waiting for proof, but growth doesn't wait for permission. It responds to commitment. The moment you say yes to healing, yes to learning, yes to showing up fully, yes to the part of you that's tired of being afraid, everything begins to move. The energy you carry shifts, the people around you begin to respond differently, opportunities start showing up. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of fear, avoidance, or shame. You're vibrating with readiness, and that yes isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It's the whisper in your heart that says, I can't live like this anymore. It's the silent vow you make to yourself at 3 a.m. when you're tired of numbing out and pretending everything is okay. It's the feeling in your chest that says, there's more for me, and I'm ready to meet it. You don't have to have it all figured out to say yes. You just need to be tired of saying no, tired of delaying the life you know you were built for, tired of carrying the weight of unexpressed potential. That yes is a declaration. It tells the universe, I'm ready. And when you're truly ready, life rearranges itself to support you. Teachers show up, healing opportunities appear, inner clarity starts to surface because your soul is finally in agreement with your future. There's incredible power in decision. Most people underestimate how much of their pain comes from indecision. Not committing to growth, not deciding who they want to be, staying stuck in the middle, floating in uncertainty. But when you say yes fully, wholeheartedly, you close the door on the old story, and that closure becomes freedom. You're no longer tied to who you used to be. You're no longer living life through the lens of your wounds, your past, your insecurities. You've stepped into the realm of power, the place where change isn't just possible, it's inevitable. And here's the secret: your emotions will catch up to your yes. You don't need to feel confident to say yes to becoming confident. You don't need to feel strong to say yes to your strength. You just need to decide, because when your soul makes that decision, everything else begins to align. The energy you once gave to fear now becomes fuel for purpose. The attention you once gave to pain now becomes power. The stories you once told yourself about being broken become irrelevant because you're no longer living through that narrative. You've chosen something higher, something deeper, something truer. It's the yes that breaks cycles, the yes that ends toxic patterns, the yes that calls in a partner who meets you where you are, not where you were. It's the yes that heals family lines, the yes that reclaims your voice, the yes that gives birth to the version of you that's been buried under survival mode. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to decide that the pain of staying the same is greater than the fear of change. That's the shift, that's the spark, that's the frequency where miracles begin to occur. And the beautiful part is, you don't need to beg life to support you once you've said yes. Support will begin to flow to you naturally, because energy always meets intention. And when your intention is pure, when you're genuinely ready to grow, to release, to rise, you become a magnet for everything that matches that frequency. But it starts with you. It starts with a choice, not a half-hearted maybe, not a someday, not an if things get better. It starts with the radical, fearless, soul-level yes that says, I am no longer available for a life that does not reflect who I truly am. Negative emotions aren't the enemy. They are messengers. They are not a curse. They are a compass. The pain, the anger, the guilt, the heartbreak, they're signals trying to tell you something about what's unresolved, what needs to be seen, what needs to be transmuted. But most people don't know how to listen. They run from those emotions. They suppress them. They numb them with distractions, addictions, meaningless noise. They cover them up with fake confidence, humor, perfectionism, or busyness, but nothing buried ever dies. It just sits under the surface, shaping your choices, your relationships, your mindset, and your capacity for intimacy. The truth is, everything you've been pushing down is what's quietly directing your life. Until you face it, you're not free. You're being led by wounds you won't name. But what if those negative emotions weren't something to escape from, but something to alchemize? What if the pain you've been carrying could be turned into power? What if the guilt that keeps you stuck was really a call for compassion and inner reconciliation? What if your shame was simply misunderstood sensitivity, waiting for acceptance instead of judgment? You have to understand that energy doesn't disappear, it transforms. Every dark feeling you carry has the potential to become a force of strength, depth, and clarity, if you're willing to sit with it and learn from it. The most magnetic people are not the ones who have avoided pain, but the ones who have met it, gone deep into it, and come out the other side with wisdom and strength. They don't fake positivity, they embody authenticity. They've cried, healed, screamed, let go, and rebuilt. And that's why their presence feels so grounded, because it's rooted in truth. When you learn to hold space for your own darkness without shame, without judgment, you stop being afraid of it. And when you're no longer afraid of it in yourself, you stop being afraid of it in others. That's when you become a safe space. That's when you become deeply attractive, not because of what you look like or what you have, but because of the energy you radiate. Every negative feeling you carry is energy that wants to move. Anger wants to be expressed and then redirected. Sadness wants to be witnessed and then released. Fear wants to be understood and then outgrown. But if you ignore those emotions, they'll rot in your system. They'll show up as anxiety, procrastination, broken relationships, and self-sabotage. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel negative emotions again. It means they no longer run your life. It means you're aware, you're conscious, you can feel the wave, but you don't drown in it. You can observe the storm without becoming the storm. And this is where transformation happens, not in pretending everything is fine, but in facing what isn't with honesty and compassion. You can't heal what you won't touch. You can't grow past what you're afraid to admit. But when you stop blaming others, when you stop resisting your emotional truth, when you stop pretending to be fine and start getting real with yourself, that's when you reclaim your power. You stop playing small. You stop apologizing for your needs. You stop giving your energy to what drains you. And you start creating from a place of wholeness, not fear. Transmuting negative emotions isn't a one-time event. It's a daily choice. It's choosing to sit with your discomfort instead of distracting yourself. It's choosing to journal your anger instead of lashing it out. It's choosing to breathe through your sadness instead of running from it. It's choosing to speak the truth of your experience instead of bottling it up for the sake of peace. It's messy, it's raw, but it's real, and the more you do it, the more you realize that your emotions were never the problem. It was your resistance to them. Once you open the door, even the heaviest pain begins to lighten. And the beauty is, the more you do this work, the more your energy begins to shift. You're no longer walking around with hidden tension. Your body relaxes, your nervous system calms, your relationships deepen. You begin to attract people who see you, who resonate with your truth, who mirror your growth. Not because you've become perfect, but because you've become present. You've stopped performing and started living, and that kind of presence is rare. That kind of self-awareness is irresistible. Because when someone has done the inner work, you can feel it in their silence, you can feel it in their touch. You can feel it in their words. Their energy doesn't scream, it speaks. It doesn't demand attention, it invites trust. And all of that begins the moment you stop fearing your negative emotions and start honoring them. They're not there to destroy you. They're not weakness, they're part of your power. They are the unpolished, misunderstood parts of you that are waiting to become your deepest strength. And the more you lean in, the more you stop seeing them as a curse, and start recognizing them as the fuel for everything you were born to become. Love in its highest form is a creative force. It's not just an emotion. It's not just affection, attraction, or chemistry. It's a current of energy that flows between two people when their presence, their truth, and their souls are fully engaged with each other. Real love creates more than just pleasure. It creates transformation. It expands who you are. It brings you back to yourself. It wakes up dormant parts of your heart, your spirit, your purpose. And when a man brings love with intention, with presence, with emotional depth, he doesn't just please a woman. He ignites something in her. He awakens parts of her that maybe even she didn't know were asleep, and that kind of experience doesn't fade. It stays with her. It imprints on her nervous system, her body, her memory, not just because of how it felt, but because of what it meant. Most people confuse desire with love, lust with connection, but the truth is, the deepest desire isn't about the physical. It's about being seen. It's about being accepted. It's about being met. When you meet someone with your full presence, when you hold them with reverence, when you make them feel like their soul matters, not just their body, that's when love becomes a creative force. Because it's not about what you're getting from the moment. It's about what you're pouring into it. You're not there to take. You're there to give, to co-create an experience that leaves you both more whole, more alive, more connected. And it starts with how you see yourself. If you approach love from a place of scarcity, fear, or insecurity, you'll always be trying to prove something. You'll treat love like a transaction. But when you know your value, when you understand the sacredness of your presence, you no longer approach love from a place of need. You approach it from overflow. You're not trying to fill a void. You're offering something sacred, your energy, your attention, your truth. And in doing so, you invite the other person to rise to that level of presence with you. Creating love isn't passive. It's active. It's intentional. It's choosing to slow down. It's choosing to tune in. It's listening not just with your ears, but with your spirit. It's watching how her body responds, how her breath shifts, how her energy moves. It's noticing the subtle things, the quiet signals, the unsaid emotions, and then moving with awareness, with care, with curiosity. That's when love becomes an art form. That's when the experience goes beyond the physical and becomes deeply emotional, deeply spiritual. Because in that space, it's not just two people. It's two energies dancing, merging, creating something that didn't exist before that moment. And the more intention you bring to it, the more magnetic and powerful it becomes, because real love requires you to be present. fully, no distractions, no ego, no scripts, just presence, just breathe, just truth, and that level of connection can make someone cry. Not because they're sad, but because they're overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by finally feeling safe, overwhelmed by finally feeling seen, overwhelmed by the beauty of being held with that much care, that much depth, that much reverence. It breaks through defenses. It melts away years of numbness, pain, and fear. It speaks directly to the soul. That's the power of love as a creative force, and that love isn't limited to romantic moments. It shows up in how you speak to her, how you listen, how you respond to her emotions, how you hold her through her chaos, how you honor her boundaries, how you celebrate her essence. Every small gesture becomes a creative act, every word a spell, every touch a message. You become the kind of man whose love heals, not hurts, builds, not breaks, grounds, not controls. That's when intimacy becomes sacred. That's when your presence becomes unforgettable, because she's not just experiencing physical pleasure, she's experiencing emotional liberation. And that's rare. Most people don't go that deep because it requires vulnerability. It requires risk. It requires you to open your own heart first, to face your own fears, to clear your own shame, but when you do, you become a vessel. You become a channel for something higher, something divine, and when two people meet at that level, love doesn't just feel good. It becomes a force of transformation. It uplifts, it awakens, it heals, and it creates a bond that can't be broken by time or distance, because it wasn't built on surface. It was built on soul. It was created in truth, with presence, with energy that came from the deepest parts of who you are.